Hey everyone, so tons of you have asked me to make a video about tennis balls. So we're going to start with the basics, and I'm going to be talking about the differences between pressurized and pressureless tennis balls and which ones I prefer to use. Now, I think this is going to be a topic that's covered a lot more in the future as it has a massive impact on the environment. But equally, there's been more and more conversations about tennis balls that are being used on the Pro Tour. Players complaining about the balls changing so frequently from tournament to tournament because it has an impact on not only their performance, but injury risk as well. So first, let's talk about what makes a tennis ball pressurized versus pressureless. Now, the standard tennis ball that you've probably used comes in a can like this with a metal ring pull at the top. That's because the can and the balls inside it are pressurized. Now, all professional tennis tournaments use pressurized tennis balls. And like I said, they're probably the ball that you're most used to playing with. They're made up of a layer of rubber covered in felt and bounce well due to high air pressure inside them. The downside of using a pressurized tennis ball is over time and hours of play, they slowly start to lose that air pressure inside them, becoming soft and unplayable. A pressureless tennis ball, however, doesn't need to be in a pressurized container. So as you can see, this one here comes in a cardboard container, which is obviously better for the environment. Again, these balls are made out of rubber and a layer of felt. However, the layer of rubber is slightly thicker than the rubber that you would find in a pressurized tennis ball. And what this means with the thicker rubber is that it doesn't rely on air pressure to keep it bouncy. The structure of the rubber itself holds the ball together and keeps the bounce that you have. Both of these tennis balls look pretty identical from the outside. They're the same in size. They feel very similar in weight. I would say that when playing with a pressureless tennis ball, it feels ever so slightly heavier due to that slightly thicker rubber. We'll go on to that in a second. But if you were looking at these two tennis balls, you wouldn't know the difference, but you would definitely feel it when you play with them. Now, starting with the standard pressurized tennis ball, these tennis balls feel great when you first crack them out of the can. They play amazingly, but quickly deteriorate over time. When you watch professional tennis players play, they actually change their tennis balls every 7 games, and you can imagine how bad that is for the planet, as the rubber and the felt isn't that easy to recycle. At the tennis club here, we work with a tennis ball recycling company, so we do get them recycled. And tennis ball companies like Head here are making their packaging more widely recycled, but as you can imagine, it's not as easy to recycle this as it is a cardboard package. But going back to the playability, the reason why a pressurized ball feels better than a pressureless ball when playing with it at the start is because it's held up by air pressure. There's a little bit of give on impact, making it feel far more comfortable when hitting the ball at speed. Whereas the pressureless ball being held up by that thicker rubber structure is harder to play with, and you can definitely feel the difference when impacting the ball. However, a pressureless tennis ball is going to last a lot longer than a pressurized ball. Because it's not relying on the air pressure inside it, you can keep playing with these balls until the felt wears down. It really doesn't lose its bounce. So you can see why, from a sustainability point of view, a pressureless tennis ball is going to be far better, as not only does it have more recyclable packaging, but it lasts much, much longer. In fact, in my opinion, a pressureless tennis ball actually improves in performance over time, whereas a normal pressurized tennis ball does the opposite. It definitely deteriorates. Now, the problem that pressureless tennis balls have currently is they're not that arm friendly. Because they're harder, you definitely feel more of an impact when hitting the ball. And if you're a big hitter, using a pressureless tennis ball for hours and hours could result in elbow and wrist problems. One consideration to make if you do want to use pressureless tennis balls is to get your racket strung either with a slightly softer string or a slightly looser tension, as that can help to soften that hard impact feel that you get with these harder pressureless tennis balls. In the past, I've used pressureless tennis balls in my ball machine, as I actually leave about 100 tennis balls in my ball machine, and if I left a standard pressurized tennis ball in the ball machine for months on end, they would get softer and softer and be unplayable. Whereas because I don't use the ball machine that much, I keep these pressureless tennis balls in there, and they're just as good months, even years down the line, as they don't lose their bounce. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm going to tell you which tennis balls I use most? And the honest answer is I actually use both. On the coaching program, we actually use Head Tour and Head Tour XT. These are my favorite tennis balls to use as a player. If I was playing a match, I love these balls. But over the last winter, we've had more rain than we've ever had before in the UK. And to be quite honest, these normal pressurized tennis balls have just died. Once they've been played in wet weather, they're really no good, and they only last a week or two on our coaching program, which you can imagine is not great for cost and is not great for the environment. So this winter, we have actually tried using Pressureless tennis balls, and they have been a game changer. Now, I wouldn't recommend using these with a group of players if you're going to be coaching them for hours and hours and hitting big shots. But for our group coaching program, these have been a game changer. They've coped really, really well with the wet and cold conditions that we've had in the UK, and have definitely lasted much longer. But what I would say from a coach's perspective, because I'm using these for 8 hours a day, they have been tough on my arm. So I've used my racket that's got a more open string pattern, and I've had a slightly looser tension put into my strings to make up for that, and I haven't had any problems. So what's the best tennis ball for you? I'm not going to go through all of the brands and the different models of tennis ball that each brand has. I may make a video reviewing different balls later on in the future, but pretty much every single ball manufacturer has a pressureless version. In this example, I'm using the Wilson Trinity. But for you as a player, what I would suggest is if you are a competitive player that plays at a high level and plays frequently throughout the week, I would definitely stick with a normal pressurized tennis ball, as it's going to be much better for your arm and it's going to perform much better when you're training seriously. However, if you have a ball machine, I would definitely suggest using a pressureless tennis ball, as they're going to last much, much longer. But I wouldn't suggest spending more than an hour hitting with this, as it's not great for your arms. Equally, if you're a recreational player that plays once a week and you play with your friends and you want your balls to last much longer, then again, a pressureless tennis ball is going to be great for you. My closing thoughts are, I honestly think that brands are going to start making more and more variations of pressureless tennis balls, because sustainability is becoming more and more important. And I think they're going to improve the quality. And who knows, in a couple of years' time, I wouldn't be surprised if pressureless tennis balls perform just as well as the pressurized ones. And at that point, it's going to be much better for the environment. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like a more detailed review of different brands of tennis ball. And also let me know which tennis ball is your favorite to use. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.